Welcome to another episode of Unmuted, a podcast about finding your voice so that you can live your dreams. I'm your host, Courtland Warren. Got a question for you. Have you ever found yourself really motivated for like a day? And then it was maybe a week, a couple of weeks. It could have even been years before you were that motivated again. And is there a part of you that is not known that, man, if you could just maintain that level of consistent enthusiasm or excitement, that level of motivation, that you would get a lot more done? You'd accomplish a lot more. Your dreams would be realized sooner. And yet it seems that though you can find yourself really excited, that excitement tends to wane. We're going to explore that today. We're going to explore ways to maintain the level of excitement and enthusiasm that is necessary for the attainment of your goals and dreams. But let me pause for just a moment and ask you or challenge you on if whether or not you've been smiling enough today, or have you been smiling enough this week? I want you, particularly if you're in your car or wherever you may be listening to this, somebody could be watching you listen, but however that looks for you, I want you to right now, I want you to take a moment and get some smile practice. Yes, some smile practice. I asked the question not long ago during an online event. I looked out into the group, the Zoom group, and I noticed these very, let's just say, non-smiling faces. And that led to the question. I said, well, how many of you, and I asked the question I ask you now, have you ever laughed so hard that your face started to hurt? Like you laughed so hard that your cheeks were aching, okay? You ever had that experience? You laughed so hard that your face started to hurt? Now let me ask you this. Have you ever frowned so much that your face started to hurt? For most people, they have had the experience of laughing so hard that their face hurts, but not frowning so much that their face hurts. You know why? Because those are muscles in your face. And just like when you go to the gym, right, a muscle that hasn't been worked out in a while tends to get sore. Here's the news. If you notice that you laugh so hard that your face starts to hurt, that just tells you that you're not smiling enough, that you're not laughing enough. Those are muscles that are not in shape. All right. So take a moment right now and get some smile practice in, because we're going to do some exploration today that is also related to that. Okay, a great book on the subject is Dopamine Nation, and the author of Dopamine Nation just makes this assertion through her research, and it's simply this: people aren't happier because they don't have a challenge that is big enough. Check that out. The reason why more people aren't happy, you can translate this to your own life. The reason why you aren't happier, or the reason why people aren't happy, is because they don't have a challenge big enough in their life that they're going after. There's not a goal, a dream, or an aspiration that is out there that's big enough, and they are in the pursuit of it. Notice the language there. Not just wanting it and waiting for it to show up. You probably got something big enough for that. If it showed up, that would be great. If it showed up, you'd smile. But actually in the pursuit of. In the pursuit of it. That's what we're going to really explore in this episode of Unmuted. And thank you so much for listening in. If you get value from the content, if you get value from the information, my only request is that you not keep it a secret. Let someone know that this podcast exists. Let them know that we're out here. There's a sea of information out there. Sometimes it becomes very overwhelming. I believe that what we're doing here is practical, it's actionable, and is really doing the work of transforming people. So how do we remain consistent? How do we maintain our level of motivation? I think I said excitement earlier, and I'm going to back off that a bit. I won't guarantee that we'll always be excited in the pursuit, but there are definitely things that we can understand that would keep us consistent. Even when it's difficult, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, there are things that we can do to remain consistent and not give up on it. So let's first explore, though, what happens. What tends to happen when things don't go the way you want it to go? for the most part, whenever things don't go the way you wanted it to go, or people, generally speaking, when things don't go the way they want it to go, they look for someone else to blame. Whose fault is it? It didn't go the way I wanted because, this person didn't come through. They didn't do what they said they would. It's because of them. And what eventually happens is, particularly if we can't get the other person to own the part that they played, we get tired of blaming other people. And so when blame runs out, it can then move to shame, where we become self-critical. And maybe the self-criticism is, similar to, I shouldn't have trusted them. I shouldn't have trusted them to come through. Now they're not even taking responsibility for the part they didn't play, or for the part they played in it. And so I shouldn't have trusted them. I'm out here on my own. I'll just do it myself. Or the shame can go into, it was my fault. I dropped the ball. And then, the criticism and the self, beating yourself up and so forth starts to happen. Right. So if blame doesn't work and shame doesn't work, eventually we get tired of shaming ourselves. And we got to ease the pressure. We got to lighten up on ourselves a bit. And so when we get done with shame, it can move into justification. Justifications are things like, well, I'm only human. Everybody does it. I did the best I could, so forth and so on. But that justification, right, still, that thinking, that mindset ultimately does not have you achieve your goal or dream. So let me ask you this. How much more money will you make? How significantly will your business grow if you're in the place of blame, shame, or justification? Which one of those three will be most responsible for your business expanding? I hope you said none. Let me ask you this. What is it like for you to be in relationship with someone who is constantly in a state of blame, shame, or justification? How inspiring is that relationship? Do you really look forward to seeing them? Can you just not wait to get your hands on them, to look into their eyes, to share dinner together, to go on a romantic weekend or excursion? Particularly when you come to know and expect that it's going to be conversation and time spent, wasted, I should say, in the place of blame, shame, or justification. So if blame, shame, and justification will not grow your business, it's not going to put more money in your bank account, it's not going to deepen your relationships, it's not going to broaden your network. If those things aren't going to happen as a result of, then why do it? Why spend any time there? Blame, shame, and justification. It doesn't work. Not for furthering your life, not for unmuting yourself, not for finding your voice and using that voice to create and design, build your world. So beyond the place of blame, shame, and justification, there is responsible. And notice your reaction to the word responsible, because in this context, responsible does not mean that it's my fault or I'm the reason that it happened or it was because of me. But in this context, responsible essentially says that no matter where I've been and no matter what I've been through, what comes next is up to me. No matter where I've been, no matter what I've been through, what comes next is up to me. And isn't that a much more empowering place to live and operate from? Because it doesn't require you to pretend that things didn't happen. It doesn't ask that you ignore what has occurred. We're not in like some fairy tale or la la land where we are in denial about or avoidance of what's going on. But we can acknowledge it, we see it, and we can move from it, recognizing that we're empowered to do so. No matter where I've been, no matter what I've been through, what comes next is up to me, because as far as we know, only human beings have the capacity to think beyond current reality. Only human beings can do that. Only human beings can think beyond what current reality is. And so it is that viewpoint. It is responsible that will allow us, that keeps us consistent in the pursuit of a goal. So if you found yourself really excited and motivated, and then that motivation or excitement wanes, like you're really, really ready to go, you're raring to go, and then it doesn't last beyond, the morning cup of coffee, it may be the case that your focus is in the wrong place, that your eyes are locked and set on the incorrect or the improper area. The improper area. What oftentimes happens is we get really excited about the thing that we want, the outcome, the goal, the dream being fulfilled, the dream being achieved. We get really, really excited about that. And then the work begins, right? We're really, really excited about it when it's in idea phase. When it's in the stage of an idea, we're really, really excited about it. And then the work begins. And as the work begins, if we're still focused on the outcome, then our leaning is towards an attitude of, well, are we there yet? And particularly when we are not sure, when we do not know definitively how long it will take, then our willpower, our ability to sustain it starts to fade away. It starts to fade away. And so what happens is, because we're focused on the outcome and not the journey that we're on, when we do this, we're using up all of our energy. We're using up our reservoirs of power because we are not present for where we are. I believe it was Benjamin Disraeli who said, every day, man crucifies himself between two thieves. One, the regrets of yesterday, and two, the fear of what tomorrow might bring. I'll repeat that. Benjamin Disraeli. Every day, man crucifies himself between two thieves. And I'm imagining, like a crucifixion, arms stretched, between two thieves. One, the regrets of yesterday. Two, the fear of what tomorrow might bring. And when I first read that, I had to check myself and be honest about the fact that, there are many, many times, many, many moments that I've spent on the regrets of yesterday, wishing that I had done things differently, wishing that things had turned out differently than they did, wishing that I had not made mistakes and errors that I made, be they in relationship and business, with my health, so forth and so on. Regrets of yesterday. And the other, the fear of what tomorrow might bring. Another word we can use there is worry. What happens if? What happens if I pick the wrong goal? What happens if I pick the wrong dream? What happens if I pick the wrong purpose? What happens if I pick the wrong career? What happens if I pick the wrong person? What happens if? And so there's the worry of tomorrow, the fear of what tomorrow might bring. So the regrets of yesterday, the fear of tomorrow, if I'm in either of those places, then where I am not is present. I'm not present. And that's where the power goes. Fear and worry, fear and doubt. They regret and doubt. They zap our energy and destroy focus. If you've ever had the experience of you got to the goal, you got the dream, and then when you got there, it was a feeling of, this is it? That's all? I worked my butt off for this? And so sometimes you can actually get there, and when you get there, it's not very fulfilling. It does not bring with it the joy, the excitement that you thought it would. So why is it that our excitement then starts to wane? Well, it is because once the goal or the dream is satisfied, then there's nothing to be excited about. Does that make sense? Am I communicating that? Once you've achieved it, then it's no longer a want. Once you've achieved it, then it's no longer a desire. And as a result of that, it can be an empty and very unfulfilling feeling to finally attain a goal, to get there and feel hollow. Because once it's done, then the pursuit is over. And what many times we underestimate or we just completely misunderstand is that what is driving us is the pursuit. What drives us is the pursuit, not the outcome, not the thing, not the goal. The goal is not the main thing. The main thing is who you're becoming in the process. And if you miss the process, if you miss the journey, so focused on the destination, then you arrive at the destination with nowhere to go. You arrive at the destination with no next place. And actually arriving at the destination could lead you to depression. Actually getting there could lead you to depression, because once you arrive and you realize that it's not what you thought it would be, and you've missed the journey you've missed the pursuit, then you miss the parts that were making you better. So the real prize, the real joy is in who you're becoming in the first place. Not the achievement, not the attainment, but rather, who are you becoming? So we are not happier because we don't have a goal or a dream that is challenging us enough. What do I mean by challenge? Meaning you're having to become new. That your old comfortable ways of doing things will not serve in this new pursuit. And oftentimes what happens is we're unwilling to make the sacrifice. We're unwilling to become beginner again. We're unwilling to do the work of getting temporarily inconvenienced or temporary discomfort. We're unwilling to pay the temporary price. And because we're unwilling to pay that temporary price, then we remain where we are. And because we remain where we are, we're not in pursuit. And if we're not in pursuit, then we're not being challenged. And if we're not being challenged, then we're not fulfilled, not happy. So then, what's the answer? Well, first is in knowing that the power is in who you become. It's about enjoying the journey and not the destination, not having the thing. So a framework for that would be then to first identify the objective. And a nuance here is the objective, again, is not the end goal, but what is the area or the part of you that you are developing? Maybe you set a goal that requires you to be more self-disciplined, and so your objective is greater self-discipline. And now you enjoy the struggle and challenge of that along the way. Maybe you set a goal that requires of you a higher level of personal integrity, saying yes to yourself and keeping your word and commitment to yourself, and that has you become better. And so as you are in the pursuit of a goal that requires your personal integrity being lifted, that's what you come to enjoy. Or maybe the objective is one that will require you to set and keep your boundaries, because the discomfort or the uneasiness or the threat of being alone has you sacrificing and compromising your own boundaries. And so the pursuit in order for you to get there, it will require of you to have boundaries that you maintain and that you keep. The objective, though, as you set this out, okay, and that'll be some homework for you, but as you set this out, what is the quality or the characteristic that you want to grow into? What is the quality or characteristic that you want to become more adept at? What is that quality or the characteristic that you want to exemplify or embody even more? You becoming better is the responsibility. And this is not to say that, well, okay, the goal will take care of itself or the goal does not matter. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying it does matter, but what is going to make you happier, more fulfilled is your ability to enjoy the process along the way. Falling in love with the journey, and even when it gets hard, you condition yourself to embrace or to believe that the difficulty, I love the difficulty. I love this challenge. I love the challenge. Because in it, you know that you're becoming better. In it, because you know that you're being transformed. Why? Because transformation requires that a price be paid. And so, to the extent that you're unwilling to pay a price, to give up something, to make some sacrifice, then you're not worthy of the transformation. You're not going to be transformed until you're willing to pay the price. That's not a Courtland rule. That's not an unmuted podcast rule. That's how life works. That's the principle. There was a study done using kindergartners. What they were really looking at was the growth and fixed mindset. They took children who enjoyed drawing. They would just draw on their own. They just noticed these children, and drawing was something that they enjoyed. And so they took the children and they had them become part of a test group. And what they started to do was, after the kids would draw whatever it was that they were drawing or doodling and so forth, they would give the child a sticker or a little smiley face or, a star for their drawing. They did this for a period of time, and then they stopped issuing stickers, stars, smiley faces. And what they noticed was, once they removed the reward, the children stopped drawing. Now, what's fascinating to me about this is that, well, at first they were just drawing on their own. When there was no reward attached to it, they just did it. Then you introduce reward for a period of time and then remove the reward. Now, what I used to do naturally, what used to be done naturally, isn't done. Because through the rewards, the attachment, and dare I say addiction, became to the outcome rather than the enjoyment. Translate to your own life. And where does your sense of enjoyment and embracing of challenge and struggle, where does it wane because the reward doesn't look like it's going to come in or it's too far out? And so as a result of that, we lack the motivation or the intensity. The solution is to reprogram your mind, to reprogram your brain and your body, to enjoy the challenge of learning. It's to embrace the difficulty of the inconveniences. It's the willingness to endure being mocked and laughed at even while you learn a new thing. It's the willingness to do that and endure that long enough to build a resilient mind. To understand that success requires that we be willing to endure the learning. And so we can be excited every step along the way, present moment after moment after moment, because we have a full understanding that the process and the journey that we're in ultimately results in our growth and transformation. And understanding, as I believe was Eben Pagan who first had me see this idea, we recognize that success is not an instantaneous thing as much as it is an emergence. It's not just one thing. It's not just one key as much as it is an emergence of many factors and many things. Your journey is unique to you. And sure, we can read the stories of others who have set the path, others who have gone the route, others who have made it. We can read their stories and listen to their stories and become inspired, but understand that your journey will not mirror theirs. Your journey will not be the same as theirs. And so be not discouraged when it looks different, because your journey for you is as unique as a fingerprint. Yours belongs to you. I hope that helps. I hope that helps and this adds some value to you. We remain consistent by being present for the journey rather than having our focus be on the outcome. We don't waste energy on blame, shame, and justification, but we embrace our responsibility to change and become better. Why? Because no matter where I've been, no matter where you've been, no matter what I've been through, no matter what you've been through, what comes next is up to me. What comes next is up to you. This is Unmuted, a podcast about finding your voice so that you can create your world. If it's of value, don't keep it a secret. Let people know that it exists. I encourage you to send an email to info@courtlandwarren.com if you have questions about this episode. You could also download the free ebook about the truth of what it takes to get better that many in personal development don't want you to know. It's a free, my gift to you for joining our mailing list and becoming a part of the movement that we're getting started. Soon, I'll be opening, well, I'm going to leave you right there because I'm not ready to announce it yet. And I'm not going to edit that out. All right. It's all good. Happy, this episode 12 is just before the 4th of July here in the United States. And so happy Independence Day. Be safe, take care, and we will see you next time.